welcome to you. Today, of course, the FA Cup semi-final between Arsenal and Sunderland, one of the most exciting for years. Also, a few highlights from the Scottish Cup semi-final between Celtic and Dundee. And to keep the high excitement going right to the very end of the programme, we show you the 12 best goals of the season on ITV as a prelude, of course, to our Golden Goals competition that starts next Sunday. But first, it's that FA Cup semi-final at Hillsborough between Arsenal and Sunderland, and it began there for Sunderland at about 2 o'clock, when manager Bob Stokoe invited local comedian Bobby Knoxall into his dressing room to relieve his players' tension.
Now, Billy Hughes, before he joined Sunderland, he used to be a window cleaner in Scotland. Dropped 2 bob out of his pocket one day and he ran down the ladder to get it and hit him on the head.
But soon the laughing was over, and an hour later Sunderland were out on the pitch in front of a 55,000 crowd to face the biggest test of their careers on this important afternoon against an Arsenal side that now included Charlie George at number 9, with John Radford fit again as the substitute. At number 5, Jeff Blockley, he's in for Frank McClintock, who was injured last Saturday. And there are fitness doubts about Blockley too, so that must go down as something of an Arsenal gamble. As for Sunderland, no team problems. They were wiped away in midweek when Mick Horswell at number 4 was past fit. They've had a wonderful run since the turn of the year. Their confidence could hardly be higher. And for one man, a most interesting afternoon. Sunderland's number 6, Richie Pitt. A couple of months ago, he left Sunderland for a trial with Arsenal. The referee is last year's Cup final referee, David Smith of Gloucester. We're ready for the start.
So the semi-final is underway. Sunderland all in white, defending the goal to our left. Treading for them unknown ground. None of these players have been this far before to a semi-final with its very special atmosphere. As opposed to Arsenal, familiar ground for them. Their third successive year that they've been in a cup semi-final. Arsenal again playing in their change strip of yellow shirts and blue shorts, which in fact is what they've worn on the 2 previous semi-finals. Malone, Kerr, chase that, he says, to Hallam, and Simpson has to concentrate hard again on a high ball. And Sunderland continue to come fighting forward. Two redheads in the middle of the field, Alan Ball and Horswell, having quite a battle too, a battle of wits. But here's Kerr, here is Horswell now. Ball had left him for a moment and Kelly had to react quickly. Sunderland's throw. And again all the Sunderland supporters behind that Arsenal goal, giving their team all the encouragement. Horswell again and a shot! Oh, and a wonderful save by Wilson from Mickey Horswell. He'd scored against Manchester City and he reacted as Wilson is injured. Well, that will bring memories of the Cup semi-final of a year ago. Wilson really stretched superbly because Horswell caught that beautifully with the left foot. And Wilson just palmed it away. Well, Wilson all right again. It was a leg he injured in the last semi-final, a hand temporarily injured there, and Malone turning it in again, but miscalculating. And a free kick to Arsenal. And Horswell, in his enthusiasm, going in too hard. And too high. Story ducking low to try and backhead it. Horswell. Blockley touching back, and will he go far enough? No! Hallam! A goal! Blockley's mistake. Wilson came out, and Sunderland, surprising everybody, have gone into the lead through Hallam. 17 minutes gone, and the unexpected happens at Hillsborough. And again, a direct repetition of 2 years ago when Arsenal presented Stoke City with a goal, with a back pass that time by Charlie George. This time, Blockley is the unhappy man, and there's nothing but joy in Sunderland. Vic Hallam could hardly have believed his luck. The man who's seen service with Orient, with Fulham and with Luton, really out of the shadows to put Sunderland on top. A free kick now to Arsenal. What a terrible mistake. Rice with the free kick. Lockley right up there to try and make amends, and Horswell kicking off the line, and Armstrong going in, and Porterfield getting it away to Jewett. McNabb, and he thought about a back pass, saw that Kerr was in his way. Ball, Kelly, such a need for Arsenal to keep their heads, and there's Montgomery saving well as Kennedy came in. Hallam there above both Ball and Blockley. Horswell and McNabb holding off Hughes, but Hughes refuses to be held off, and that really is the spirit of Sunderland football this afternoon. And this time the book is coming out and Story is going into it. Well, there must have been a bad challenge there by Story. And it's enough to put his name in the book, and of course give Sunderland the free kick. Kerr with it, driven hard again. Stewart getting in with the head, but just wide. And Sunderland are running Arsenal into a troublesome position now. Malone, George, Ball, Armstrong, a chance. No, and it won't come yet. Maybe it will now. Oh, and it went against the post and behind for a goal kick. Armstrong very close indeed for pulling back the equaliser there for Arsenal. Blockley's header. Porterfield, Guthrie, long and high again. McNabb, Porterfield, Hughes, Horswell, Stewart, Kerr, straight at Story. Just over half an hour gone, and away goes Stewart again for Sunderland. But the excitement of the possibilities got the better of him. Arsenal's throw. Watson to Hallam. Porterfield to Hughes. The confidence really is growing every minute, Sunderland. Just look at Hughes there. And they've got themselves a corner. No doubt about it that Arsenal are regarded as a side with immense character, and they're going to need to pull out all that character now. Must be like playing against a swarm of bees, as Hughes takes another corner for them, and that is on the top of the crossbar. Lockley. And a free kick to Arsenal, but that was very close indeed to another Sunderland goal. McNabb with the free kick. Charlie George, and away they go again, and now it's Hallam once more. Oh, and he took too much time. That was a heaven-sent opportunity presented to him by Kerr. Now Ball, George, Story making a break down the left again. Armstrong. Well, Story might. Well, he showed a beautiful dummy to get it. Ball. And it hit ball coming from Horswell. Porterfield now to Hughes. Obstruction by Rice, free kick to Sunderland. So now it's Billy Hughes again. Rockley, Sunderland's throw. Guthrie. And Rice forced to turn it in again for another Sunderland throw. Ian Porterfield's going to take this one. Not really a very long one, but Hallam has gone towards it. Kelly away. Watson. Falling against Alan Ball. And Dave Watson all the way back to Montgomery. Again, Hallam timing that leap well. 2-2. Simpson's long clearance. Charlie George. Story. But Horswell again there for Sunderland. And Hallam is first on the break. Still Hallam. And still Hallam. Oh, and a great save by Wilson. And Wilson is furious with that defence around him. Hallam always had the edge on Blockley. And the ball bounced nicely for him. And in all honesty, he should have made that number 2. As it is, Wilson has kept Arsenal in the game. Still Sunderland leading 1-0. And Porterfield crossing it again. Armstrong away. And never any question at the moment that Sunderland deserved to be ahead. Porterfield back to Montgomery. And this Arsenal defence, impregnable for so long, really has looked a bit creaky. Kelly. Blockley. Armstrong. Straight to Horswell. Simpson. Guthrie. Hughes is onside. Arsenal were appealing, and that's a decent looking cross, and Hallam couldn't quite get to it. Kerr now crossing it, and a good one too. Blockley only half getting it away, and Arsenal still are all over the place until McNabb gets it away. Then only as far as Malone. Kelly, Paul. It's a long time since I've seen Arsenal in such ragged form as they are at the moment. And they really are being taken all the way by Sunderland at the moment. Ball and Horswell again continuing their battle. Rice with Arsenal's kick. Porterfield, Simpson. Others around him may have been wavering, but Simpson has had a tremendously stabilising effect on the side. But now he's away up as Hallam now takes it up again for Sunderland. Hughes and Kerr. A deep cross again towards Stewart on the far side, and Hallam! Oh, and kicked away by McNabb, and Hallam almost got through again. This is absolutely unbelievable that Arsenal should be creaking and groaning in this fashion in defence, being torn apart by Sunderland. A goal up, and it really wouldn't have been any disgrace And certainly not out of character with the game if Sunderland had been 3 up now. Malone. And offside against Vic Hallam. Well, it's a throw instead. Charlie George trying to get away from Malone. He's got Armstrong outside him. Now Armstrong for Arsenal. And a corner. Well, he's tried to find a way past Guthrie down the right as Armstrong. Now he's facing this fellow, Dick Malone, as he tries to take up positions on the left-hand side. Armstrong then with Arsenal's corner. Floated high, Richie Pitt getting it away. Kennedy, turn back again. Armstrong will gather this one. Hit low, deflection! Oh, and Ball tried to turn it in. And a great reflex save by Montgomery. The shot by Armstrong was deflected by a defender. And Montgomery changed direction magnificently there. And then beat off the challenge by Ball. And far from being a goal or even a corner for Arsenal, it's a goal kick for Sunderland. Brilliantly razor-sharp reflexes there from Jim Montgomery with the kick now. Simpson. Horswell. Hallam. It'll fall for Kennedy. And Hallam is being called. Oh, there you are. The referee, in fact, was letting everybody know. Good piece of refereeing, in fact, by David Smith there. You didn't see it, but in fact what he was saying to the crowd, he was patting his mouth, and obviously Hallam was saying something. Violence of the tongue, maybe, as they call it. But Hallam's name goes into the book to join Peter Storey's already there. Rice with the free kick. Charlie George goes up, but Pitt getting it away. We're in injury time now at the end of the first half. And what an astonishing first half it's been. Ball. There was some pushing by Ball. Free kick to Sunderland. Sunderland who really rekindled the passion and the fire and the skill that swept Manchester City out of the cup in the 5th round here against Arsenal. That astonishing scoreline, 0-1 to Sunderland, and it might have been 3 without any exaggeration at all. Vic Hallam the scorer, and he already might have claimed a hat-trick in this first half. Lucky Arsenal maybe, because they only go in a goal down when they might easily have been right out of this game by now. We'll bring you the second half in just a couple of minutes. So Arsenal then get us away at the start of the second half. This 1 goal down, and it might have been more. It's Hughes for Sunderland. gone past Ball. And there was nothing malicious about that challenge by Alan Ball, but it's got to be a free kick. And in fact, the referee, having awarded the free kick, has a word with the Sunderland player. It's Kerr, who will now take the free kick for Sunderland. And Blockley, who didn't really have a very happy first half, gets it away and Arsenal get a goal kick. Well, I wouldn't have minded being a fly on the wall of the Arsenal dressing room at half-time. I would have thought there was a bit of heart-searching there, but they are a team with such tremendous character and resolution that they're not out of it yet. Although by rights they should be well out of it by now. Kennedy. Charlie George up with him. But all a bit muddled there between Kennedy and George. They really haven't hit it off terribly well this afternoon. So John Radford, who's had a great season until injury and has missed the last 5 games, but has scored 17 times this season, and it's Jeff Blockley who's coming off. Blockley, the man whose back pass led to the only goal, which is going to cause quite a reshuffle in that Arsenal defence. Story now in the back 4. But certainly that's adding a bit of striking power, and it's a bit of a gamble for Arsenal. But it's one now they've got to take. Kennedy. Simpson. Still Simpson, and driven wide of that Sunderland goal. That was a very dangerous thing for Simpson to do. And yes, Hughes almost through, as Arsenal waited and wondered and wanted somebody else to do the work. And Wilson in trouble again. And every so often in this game you get the feeling that Arsenal are going to concede that second goal and they're going to be right out of it. But they somehow keep surviving, and all the time they're only a goal down, they are still right in it. So Wilson all right. Bradstreet, the physio, has done his work, and Sunderland with another throw. Stewart coming hard towards it, and it's there! Billy Hughes with the header, and Wilson could only put it into his own goal. And now the task for Arsenal is enormous. Hughes with a delicate back header, and Wilson could only help it on its way. Well, this is a momentous semi-final, and at the moment all the odds and all the forecasts are being scattered in the Yorkshire wind. What a tremendous revival by a great old club, Sunderland, for so long languishing in the second division and near the foot of it. But my goodness, they're on their way to Wembley now. It's Kerr again, crossed behind for Arsenal's goal kick. Kennedy, Charlie George, and Guthrie quite happy to let that go into touch, and then found that he had to play it. So Arsenal's throw. And if they're a side with hidden strengths, then my goodness, they've got to start revealing them now. Tremendous header away with power there from Watson. McNabb right up there. Malone. Armstrong. Now Story. Rice. Rice again. Play on, says the referee. Low there towards Charlie George, and Malone got the foot in and got it away. Kennedy leaving it again for Rice. Hit first time. And a throw to Arsenal. Remembering, of course, they were 2-0 down 2 years ago here against Stoke. The difference then being that they got back into the game immediately after half-time to give themselves a chance. Now there's something like 25 minutes left with everything to be done as Radford turns it in once more. Simpson and Rice. Again, Watson is there to challenge Charlie George in the air. And Radford has slipped Malone. Oh, and he's pulled him back, the worst kind of foul. And quite rightly, Malone is being booked for it. Arsenal, I think, claiming that they should have had a penalty, or at least that's what Kennedy was suggesting to the referee. But it was outside the area. And you can see just how seriously David Smith, the referee, is taking that one. Malone's name quite properly going into the book because Radford had slipped him. It'll be a free kick just outside the area. And that Sunderland wall has got to go back 10 yards. That'll give Arsenal something of a chance. Charlie George is coming up to let fly, and he's just wide with it. There was only inches in it. And a goal then with a quarter of an hour or so to go would have given Arsenal a fresh gleam of hope. Hughes, a small man who's won some valuable balls in the air, and now Tuart on the outside of McNabb, and that ball bobbled nastily into the chest of Wilson. Guthrie to Hallam. Oh, and there's some scuffling there between Charlie George and Guthrie. That was a way off the ball again, and Guthrie and George really were tangling with each other then, as this tremendous semi-final boils over badly, and Guthrie's name will go into the book. And I fancy Charlie George's as well. Well, that's Guthrie's going in. And now Charlie George's. Kennedy hoping to go in, and Guthrie there. It's got to be a corner to Arsenal. Armstrong wanting to take it quickly because there's so little time left for Arsenal. They've got themselves out of some corners in the past. At the moment it's hard to see how they can get out of this one, but maybe... Oh, and he miskicked that one, misfisted that one rather, did Montgomery. But he's still got it away. Story. Arsenal's throw. Simpson. Oh, Kennedy and Charlie George! Yes! Charlie George! Well, that really does give this tremendous semi-final a magnificent last 5 minutes as that ball came across. First one had a go at it, then it came through to Charlie George, left foot. Montgomery just got a hand to it, but couldn't stop it crossing the line. Arsenal 1, Sunderland 2, and about 5 minutes to go. Stewart shaking off McNabb. Hallam there waiting for it, and Story, reliable as ever, behind for the corner. So maybe it's not all up yet. Kerr with the corner. Hallam with the header, although he didn't make much of a contact. Porterfield with the loose ball. Hallam on the far side again. And McNabb lost it for a moment and couldn't take any chances. Kerr with the corner again, and that time Hughes jumping well but not quite high enough. And now there's a chance for Arsenal to whack the ball deep into the Sunderland half as Wilson takes the goal kick. And Sunderland, since the arrival of Bob Stokoe in November, and they've lost only 2 games since then, have still got to hold out as Radford crosses it once more, and again Montgomery went in, and it's a corner for Arsenal, and really there are just seconds left now. And it's all over! There aren't enough seconds, and Sunderland are through to Wembley. The side that has lived of late on the rising passions of North East football have given the North East what they've so dearly wanted. And the Sunderland fans are going crazy, and the photographers in their hundreds are surrounding Bob Stokoe in that Sunderland bench, the man who has revitalised and transformed football in the North East. Sunderland, the deserved winners of this semi-final. Arsenal 1, Sunderland 2, and the hugs are for manager Bob Stokoe, a man really who has performed a miracle at Sunderland. Goals by Hallam and by Hughes, one by Charlie George near the end, that gave Arsenal that glimmer of hope that was never to be fully realised. And Sunderland with smiles all over their faces, as there should be, as they go back to that dressing room with a scoreline then at Hillsborough in this memorable FA Cup semi-final. Arsenal 1, Sunderland 2.
So, against all the odds, Sunderland made it. And their fans, they just refused to leave those towering terraces of Hillsborough until that miracle man, Bob Stokoe, came out to greet them. And when he did so, they roared their thanks, and they reduced Bob Stokoe to tears.
I can now.
Now, that result may have been a surprise to a lot of us, I'm sure it was. After all, Sunderland had started the campaign as 250-1 outsiders. It's 9 years since a second division club has got to the FA Cup final, and of course 36 years since Sunderland were last there. So it was an emotional afternoon for them, and after the match, Billy Hughes, Sunderland's outstanding player, and his wife talked to me about their greatest day, and Sunderland's too. I put it to Mrs. Hughes that she was also in a bit of a state.
I'm just terribly happy. Terribly happy. Can't say anything.
Tell me about Bob Stokoe, Billy.
Well, this man, I mean, when he came, it's just the way he talks to you, you know, he installs confidence into you all the time, makes you feel as if you're a good player, you know. And we would run ourselves into the ground for him. The man's fabulous, and he deserves everything that he's got. Terrific.
You had a little bit of luck going with you with the first goal, where Vic quickly capitalised on that bad mistake.
Yeah, it was a bad mistake, but there was one similar after that, you know, which Vic should have stuck in.
Yeah.
But, you know, the final score, just terrific.
Now tell me,
I wasn't. I expected Arsenal to be a lot harder, to be quite honest. You know, I mean, I wasn't very impressed with them at all.
did you feel Arsenal might get back into it in those last 10 minutes?
I thought when they scored their goal, you know, I mean, I've watched them on the telly often enough when things have been going bad. This is one thing about them, they keep going all the time. And I think we were beginning to think that they might just snatch the equaliser, you know. But then again, they never, and we're at Wembley.
And in the dressing room, what was the reaction when you first got back there?
Half of the lads are in tears, you know. We've never tasted this success before, and we just hope this is the start of something good, big and good, you know.
Well, you couldn't stop Sunderland players or their fans talking about manager Bob Stokoe yesterday. So Keith Macklin asked Bob Stokoe how he felt about it all.
I feel very emotional at the moment, Keith. It's something that you hoped would happen, and it's happened. And to see the players' face and to see all the tears and everything, it's tremendous.
I said there'd be a lot of tears in the dressing room. I bet there are. Are there many not crying?
Yes. They're quite a young side, very emotional side, and I think they play this way. You know, they give their all, and I was very, very proud of them today.
You were given a gift goal start, though, weren't you?
Well, we hoped for the break. This is what we talked about all the week. You know, Arsenal are not that an unbeatable side, or not that great a side that they don't make mistakes, and we hoped and worked for the first break, and we got it, and it did us the world of good.
But your second goal was a beautifully worked set move, wasn't it, from the throw-in?
Yes, well, we felt that this was the type of cross we had to try and throw, the one, and look for the flick, and hope that we might get a second. We didn't think we'd get very many first headers in there, although, surprisingly, we did one or two.
Well, Stewart got his header, and Billy Hughes his as well.
Yes, he finished it off very well.
But it must have been a nerve-wracking moment for you when Charlie George pulled one back.
Very cruel moment, very cruel indeed, when you looked at the clock and there's about 5 minutes to go, and that 5 minutes was a lifetime, but we went straight up the other end and nearly scored, so all the boys were tremendous.
Well, you've probably heard that Leeds United are through again. What's your feeling as you look ahead to the final?
We've got something like 10 league games to fit in, Keith. I don't know how we're going to do it, but I know one thing, we're going to Wembley, and I couldn't care less whether it's Leeds United or anybody. We'll give them a game, we'll go there and we'll prepare for it with the same spirit as we've done today, and they're not unbeatable either.
Now, Bob, I've heard that when this sort of thing happens, you don't go and sort of get drunk or anything. You go and take your dog for a walk. Is that right?
Well, my dog's a long way away tonight. It's back there. We're going up to a hotel in Sheffield. I don't know what, but I should be fairly close to getting drunk, I should think, tonight, Keith.
It's going to be the early hours of tomorrow morning, Bob, is it?
Oh, I couldn't care less if I don't get home.
Happy manager Bob Stokoe. And that just about covers completely, I suppose, one of the most romantic football stories of modern days, how a man and a team have rekindled the football pride and purpose of the whole area of the northeast of England. But there is the other side to it as well, Arsenal. What on earth went wrong with them yesterday? Here's Jimmy Hill.
It's easy to be wise after the event, but perhaps Arsenal got knocked out of the cup when Frank McClintock pulled his thigh muscle over a week ago. This semi-final will go down for me as the one that illustrated there are 3 grades of fitness for a professional football. First, the medical side of it. Second, the match fitness. And the third grade, which emerged, really the fitness to play with all the pressures and strains of an FA Cup semi-final. And this was shown yesterday with Jeff Blockley. I felt a little sorry for him because he's established himself really as an Arsenal player and done well in the side, but yesterday really was a disaster day. Let's look at the way that first goal come about, and I want you to remember that it's Blockley's right leg, right thigh, that was injured. And I would have thought he would use that right foot there, but instead he takes up his left foot, not his natural foot, and plays that ball back. And from that moment on, with Hallam coming in, Wilson diving out bravely, but to no avail, the first goal is scored, and the one that put Arsenal under the real pressure. And also, it put Jeff Blockley under pressure. From then on, it was a nightmare for him while he remained on the field. Watch again as Hallam races up the middle. He doesn't know where he is, falls there in turning, and a brave save there stops Hallam getting his second goal in just a few moments. Blockley's strength, of course, is in the air, but even there, he was struggling. Watch from this cross. On the far post, he's underneath the ball, not able to time his jump properly, and McNabb gets it off the line. And lastly, this was what convinced me, and I think may have convinced Bertie Mee, that he really had to take him off. His knees buckle there with the tension and the strain, and his determination gets the ball away. But really, the only thing I think that Bertie Mee could do at that point was to bring a substitute on, which he did immediately after half-time. Raises another interesting point, the risk that they took in keeping an attacker as substitute, John Radford, and not having anybody to replace Blockley directly. Of course, they reshuffled the team, and to be fair, it didn't play any worse after that, but both teams were soundly beaten, in my mind, by Sunderland. But a lot of people, a lot of Arsenal fans, thought they should have had a penalty. Moment when John Radford was right the way through, and talk came again of the professional foul and whether a player is justified in committing this kind of action. A lot to be said too for the first incident there. Look how Radford is backing in. Maybe that was a foul. Either it was a foul or a very clever turn, but from then on, of course, it gets into a rugby scrum just outside the area. Maybe the referee could have applied the spirit of the law and said it was in, but I think probably it was the right decision. Malone there takes his punishment, but nevertheless it did affect the score of the game. But what else did Arsenal do wrong? I think they allowed Sunderland to possibly to dictate the pace of that game. I think with their experience, the battles that they've been in over the last few years, they should have known enough to have slowed it down and taken the game at their pace. But all credit to Sunderland. I don't want to take any credit away from that fine team performance. I don't like really to pick out one player because it really was such an all-round team performance, but Billy Hughes, the man who you saw in the interview, really had an inspired match. He's such an exciting player to watch. He loves to get on the far side of defenders. There are 4 around him there, but he wants to get to the space beyond them. And he does it there past 2, and in fact wins a corner in the end, almost getting the ball across before the byline. See his football brain working here. This looked a worse foul by Story than in fact I think it was, because Hughes realises that he's going to be caught there as Story comes round, so he turns to the left, and as much goes across Story there as Story goes across him, knowing that if Story either had to foul him or he had to leave him through with only the goalkeeper to beat. And finally, as a tribute to all Sunderland and their fans, those marvellous fans, here is the second goal, scored by Billy Hughes, won twice against Arsenal in the air, and maybe Wilson fractionally too far off the line. But it was the moment that Billy Hughes knew that he and his colleagues would be walking out at Wembley in May.
Yes, quite an afternoon in Sheffield. But it was also semi-final day in Scotland yesterday. Rangers, of course, already qualified for the final. And yesterday, Celtic and Dundee battled it out to see who would join them. It finished disappointingly in a goalless draw at Hampden Park, but these were a few of the highlights. Celtic are in the hoop shirts.
Callaghan right-footed, a good one, a very good one. Touched onto the bar and away for a corner by Thompson Allen. That was a good save and a very adroit free kick from Tom Callaghan. Dundee defence expecting the high ball into the centre. Callaghan going for the top postage stamp corner. Fine play. Lennox a low hard one this time, turned away by Scott, didn't get it right. Second chance for Bobby Lennox. High one this time. Dean's going up, not cleared. Driven in and stopped on the line. That was David Hayes' shot. Bobby Wilson to rescue, and that one's just wide. That time from McGreen. Well, certainly Celtic turning on the pressure there. Either of those chances could have produced a goal from that third corner. 14 minutes played, no scoring. Murdoch, Dalglish, Lennox, great chance, must score. Lennox could be hurt there now, he recovers, marvellous chance for Lennox. The pace of the ball finally beating him. Quicksilver thrust by Bobby Lennox. Callaghan with the throw. Deans trying a floater but bending away. Murdoch going in, slipping but recovering quickly. Wilson challenging. McGrane out to Lennox, looking for the return. Gets it, he's onside. Good running by McGrane, a low hard cross, ends a corner. This is shaping to be an excellent game. The short corner on again here. McGrane to Lennox, McGrane still clear for the return. Lennox floats it across. Dalglish driven in there, and a back heeler. McNeil drove it in. Dalglish almost got to it. Thompson Allen a good save.
0-0, so they replay at Hampden on Wednesday. Indeed, with European competitions getting towards their climax, there's a lot of top football this week, but I just want to remind you of an important game for another fellow who never really quite reached that standard. Brian Yeo, the long-standing Gillingham player, he's got a testimonial match against West Ham at Priestfield Stadium, Gillingham, tomorrow night. But now, it's golden goals. And that's the trophy that goes to the scorer of this year's winning goal. Next week, you get the chance to vote, and I'll be telling you how then. That's next week. Today, we show you the 12 goals from which we shall choose our golden 6. Nothing for you to do today, in fact, except sit back and enjoy some wonderful action. Goal A is by Brian Robson for West Ham United against Manchester United.
West Ham, who've had so much more of the game, and the chances have come their way, but now for the second time find themselves behind. Robson hitting a goal! Oh, Robson! 2 goals in a little more than a minute.
Goal B is by Stan Bowles of Queen's Park Rangers, and this came against Cardiff City.
Gibbons, Hazel, and Busby, a long one forward. Venables beautifully on now for Bowles.
Next, it's goal C, and that's by Stuart Pearson of Hull City, and he scored it against Portsmouth.
Possession well, in fact. Piper now. Play on, says the referee. And here's Pearson in, surely with a chance of getting number 4 for him. What a great shot!
Goal D, that was scored by Alf Wood, and it was scored for Millwall against Brighton and Hove Albion.
Kitchener. And Gall turning it back, and now Wood, can he get in? Wood! Oh, a tremendous goal! A tremendous goal by Alf Wood!
Next, it's goal E. That was scored by John Richards, and it was scored for Wolves against Arsenal.
Nothing given. George. Bailey gets it though. Munro. Richards neatly down. Richards on. Good try! Good goal! What a fine goal from John Richards!
Next, it's goal F. That was scored by John Craven for Crystal Palace against Leeds United.
Bates for Bremner. With a poor one by him to Cook. And now to Hughes. Forward into the space there for Rogers. Can he get it? No. Craven, can he? Yes, he can. Craven. Oh, a goal! Oh, a wonderful goal by John Craven.
Goal G, back into the Midlands again, and it's Alan Hinton scoring for Derby County against Arsenal.
Archie Gemmell up first and highest. McGovern did that well. Webster. Arsenal getting a little bit ragged now. They've got 2 and 3 men chasing one player. Big Roger Davis. And it's come for Hinton. And he can whack it from there. Oh, yes! That will do for Alan Hinton.
Goal H, and it's for Martin Peters, for Spurs, another goal against Arsenal.
Blothy. All straight at Peters, and now Chivers. Can he burst on this one? Still with Chivers, and a flick on Peters. Yes, it's a goal! 2-1. Martin Peters the scorer. Beautifully taken.
Goal I is another Tottenham goal. It was scored by John Pratt against Wolves at Molineux.
Again putting pressure on that Wolves back line. Munro out. Pearce. It's Pratt. Chivers down for Perryman. Gilzine. Pratt. That's a good shot! And a beautiful goal! What a fabulous goal from John Pratt, and the Wolves defenders are absolutely stunned by that one.
Goal J, and it's won by Peter Osgood for Chelsea against Derby County.
And again, Webb is such a destroying influence in an opposing penalty area, causing men to worry all the time. Britain a little touch forward for Osgood. And he's got it through, and he has! Yes, Peter Osgood! Peter Osgood, the scorer, when there seemed no chance at all of a goal.
There had to be one from Don Rogers, and it's goal K that Rogers scored for Crystal Palace against Stoke.
Goes in, and Pidgeot goes in again. Hinchelwood with a chance to get away, to give relief to the defence. Rogers now, a touch on for Whittle. Played again for Rogers. Marsh is covering him. But now if Rogers can attack him, he might have a chance. He's got past Marsh, and now he's confronted by another. Rogers again, and a goal! Ron Rogers! His confidence has come storming back.
Goal L, the only Arsenal goal in the 12, scored by Charlie George against Manchester City.
Marsh's back header. Clintock and Summerby going for it together. Kennedy, good header. George. Oh my word!
So that then is our glorious 12. Next week we shall pick our final 6. I wonder if you've sorted them out already. But then it's then that you play your part in the voting. That's it. Remember, On the Ball next Saturday lunchtime with a complete European roundup. The big match next Sunday afternoon, of course. We leave you today, though, with the goal in that semi-final at Hillsborough that killed off Arsenal and left Sunderland and their fans with a day that I'm sure they're going to remember for the rest of their lives.
Physio has done his work, and Sunderland with another throw. Stewart coming hard towards it, and it's there!